Hi, welcome to BAT, Beverage Alcohol Training from the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association and Minnesota Municipal Beverage Association. I'm John Berglund, Director and Legal Counsel for the MLBA, and yes, I've been an alcohol server.
And I'm Paul Kapsak, Executive Director of the Minnesota Municipal Beverage Association, and yes, I've been a server of alcohol.
We, the servers of alcohol, are under greater pressures today than ever before. First, from government. I call it the government paradox. The government licenses our businesses and collects our taxes, but they also have many laws and rules that can get us fired, close our establishments, and possibly put us in jail.
We also face pressures from the local police, citizens in the community, and our insurance companies, all while trying to keep our customers happy and generate enough business to pay the bills.
How we respond to these pressures is our single greatest challenge.
We need to make sales, but we also must make them carefully and responsibly.
And if we don't, problems result, including penalties for making an illegal sale, whether to someone underage or to an obviously intoxicated person.
In Minnesota, there are two forms of penalties, criminal and civil.
Criminally, if you serve a minor or an obviously intoxicated person, it's a gross misdemeanor, punishable by a year in jail and a $3,000 fine. Civilly, in addition to possibly losing your job, there's two forms of penalties. First, your establishment can have its license suspended or revoked. And second, you may be named in a dram shop lawsuit. Under dram shop laws, if a retail server of beverage alcohol makes an illegal sale and the person served later injures a third party, the third party can sue you, the retail server, as well as the establishment you work for. Now that you know the basics of Minnesota law, let's go to Washington, D.C., where we'll get some practical tips on how to avoid problems from Phil, a bartender you may know.
Lots of long hours, hard work, a little fun with your customers. Places like this literally become part of the neighborhood and the community. But we all know great places like this don't just happen. It's the people like us that serve alcohol that make it happen. Hey, listen, all of us in the innkeeper business have a responsibility to uphold the laws and regulate the privilege to serve alcohol. Simple. You may know that I have some buddies who work for a network news show. Now, we put some videotape together for the kind of situations we're faced with every day, and some suggestions on how to handle those situations. Now, it's a fact. The legal drinking age is 21. Now, did you know that alcohol-related crashes are the #1 killer among teenagers in this country? If you're not sure they're 21, card them.
You should check the ID of anyone who looks under 30. If you ask for and see bona fide, legally acceptable ID before you sell alcohol to a customer, you can defend yourself against the charge of selling alcohol to an underage person.
What is acceptable identification?
Minnesota law recognizes only 4 forms of identification for the purchase of beverage alcohol. A valid driver's license issued by Minnesota, another state, or Canada that includes the person's photograph and date of birth. A valid identification card issued by Minnesota, another state, or Canada that includes the person's photograph and date of birth. An active military ID. And, in the case of a foreign national from a country other than Canada, a valid passport.
Can I reject any suspicious ID?
Absolutely. There is no case known where a server has gotten in trouble with the law for rejecting ID, provided the rejection is not based on other than age discrimination.
Do I have to check for ID if I know the person is old enough?
No, not unless your establishment's policy says otherwise. There is no law in Minnesota that requires a person to carry an ID. If you know they are of age, you may serve them.
What do I do if I get a false ID?
Comply with the policies of your establishment and the local law enforcement agency. One suggestion is to retain any suspicious ID and tell the individual you will call the police and request they review it. Typically, the person will leave without the ID. If they don't, do call the police.
Can underage persons even enter an establishment where alcoholic beverages are being sold?
Yes, underage persons are allowed on the premises unless there is a city ordinance or house policy to the contrary.
What if an underage person is permitted in our establishment and an adult customer buys and gives them a drink without our knowledge?
Your establishment has committed a crime. A licensed establishment cannot serve a minor or permit a minor to possess or consume beverage alcohol on the premises.
What happens if I unintentionally accept a false ID and serve a minor?
Under Minnesota law, you are still committing a crime.
Accepting a false ID and serving a minor is a crime in Minnesota. However, in 1989, MLBA secured passage of a law that says if you are charged criminally or sued civilly for a sale to a person under 21, there is a complete defense if you can prove that you reasonably relied upon the false ID and if it was a type of ID normally allowed under Minnesota law. But this defense only works if you card. Don't try to guess ages. This isn't a game at the state fair. You will be wrong, and you will have no defense in a lawsuit if you unintentionally serve an underage person without carding. It's the customer's responsibility to prove to you they are of legal age. They should, but often won't, have their IDs out before you ask. It's my experience, and probably yours too, that the customers who get most upset about being carded are in fact underage. So the server's number one rule is card, card, and card. And if in doubt, card.
Hi,
Hi, how are you today?
doing good.
Getting ready for that game tonight?
Having some friends over for the game.
Should be a great game. Do you have identification?
I do.
When's your birth date, Matt?
February 8th, 1977.
Thank you very much. Bet you get carded a lot.
I do. It used to bother me before I was 21.
What kind of IDs shouldn't I accept?
Unacceptable IDs include a temporary driver's license, a non-photo driver's license, birth certificates, and school or work ID cards. An easy way to check IDs is the flag system. Feel.
Can I see some ID, please?
Have the person remove the ID from their wallet or plastic holder. Feel it for information that may be cut out or pasted on, especially at the date of birth and the photo. Feel the texture. Look. Look for the state seal. On the plastic driver's license and ID card, the state seals are highly visible. Look at the photograph. Focus your attention on the person's nose and chin, since these features are not changeable. Look at the height and weight to see if they reasonably match. Look to see if the person looks the age stated on the ID. If they don't accept the ID, no matter how genuine it looks. Look at the date of birth and do the math. Check the expiration date. Ask. Ask questions of the person.
What year did you graduate from high school?
Ask their middle name, their zodiac sign, their zip code, the year they graduated from high school, etc. If they are with a friend, ask their friend to quickly tell you their name. If there is any hesitation in answering any of these questions, chances are good they're not telling the truth. Ask the person to sign their name and then compare the signatures. And finally, give back. Give the license back only after you feel, look, and ask.
Okay, here you go.
Thanks.
Now that you know the basics about checking for proper ID, let me show you how this can actually play out in a bar or restaurant. Now picture this. A large group of people come in to celebrate a friend's birthday. They're all sitting at a big table and ordering drinks. Let's see what happens.
Hi, guys. Would anybody like a beverage?
I'll take a gin and tonic.
I'll have the same.
I'd like a rum and coke, please.
I'd like a glass of Chardonnay.
And I'd like a kamikaze, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to look at your ID.
Well, I'm sorry, but I left mine at home. These guys will vouch for me, though.
I'm sorry, I can't. Our policy is that we check anybody who looks under 30.
Okay. Just give us a pitcher of beer.
All right, but I'm still going to need to see an ID from anybody who wants a glass who looks under 30. Management requires that we follow that rule. How about a nice frozen drink? There's a fresh apple berry. It's really good.
Fine, whatever.
The waitress was absolutely correct in not serving the kid. If she had served her, she could have been arrested, the place fined, or the liquor license could either be suspended or revoked. Then who would I have to talk to?
Underage customers tend to order sweet or exotic drinks, such as a zombie, Singapore sling, Long Island iced tea, White Russian, and the like. Be alert to their method of ordering. What do you have? I'll have the same. What do you suggest? Typically, an underage group will sit where they are least conspicuous, such as in a dark, secluded area of the establishment. If they are with patrons who are old enough to drink, they may leave when the order is placed to avoid being carded. They may count their money before they order, and they are usually bad tippers.
I lost it.
Oh, I left it in my car.
My dog ate it.
It got ruined in the washing machine, and I haven't received my new one yet.
I can't believe you're asking for my ID.
Come on, don't I look old enough?
The day bartender always serves me.
When we properly check for ID and refuse to serve a minor, we're not only protecting ourselves from ABC and criminal violations, but we're also protecting a minor. And quite possibly, saving his life.
This is the only area that, when you don't card, there is no defense. You don't card, you lose. We just spent a lot of time on underage sales because it is so important. But there is another kind of customer you cannot serve. Someone who is obviously intoxicated. Under Minnesota law, the same criminal and civil penalties apply to serving an obviously intoxicated person as in sales to underage persons. Determining if a customer is intoxicated can be difficult, but if anyone can do it, it's you. You're the pro. But before we talk about monitoring consumption and cutting customers off, let's review a few basics about how alcohol beverages affect the body. A drink is a drink is a drink. Alcohol is a chemical substance. It's a drug. It's a depressant. And it's the absorption of alcohol into the bloodstream that affects a person both mentally and physically.
When you drink a sip of wine or any other alcoholic beverage, a small percentage of the alcohol, 2 to 4%, is absorbed through the membranes of the mouth. The rest passes to the stomach. A little bit of alcohol is absorbed while in the stomach, but mostly it just sits there waiting to pass into the intestines, where 75 to 80% of the absorption into the bloodstream takes place. How long alcohol stays in the stomach before it passes to your intestines depends on whether or not you have eaten. If you have not eaten, the pyloric valve at the base of the stomach is open. The alcohol rushes directly through the stomach to the intestines, where it is absorbed into the bloodstream and affects you very quickly.
If you've eaten in the last 2 hours, the pyloric valve will be closed. This keeps food in the stomach to be digested and also keeps the alcohol there. One tip to remember is that champagnes or drinks with soda produce a faster rate of intoxication. That's because the carbonation tends to open the pyloric valve. This speeds up alcohol absorption regardless of whether the customer is eating or not. When you're trying to estimate your customer's level of intoxication, there are 3 main factors to consider: size, body type, and gender.
The greater the body weight, the more alcohol it takes to reach a given blood alcohol level. A person's body type also determines the rate of alcohol absorption. Muscle tissue can absorb alcohol before it enters the bloodstream. Fatty tissue cannot. So, if there are 2 people of almost the same weight and both have consumed the same amount of alcohol, the more muscular person will have a lower blood alcohol level. Gender also has an effect on blood alcohol absorption because biologically women have a larger proportion of fat than men. So, after